Hi Kipsters, I hope you're all doing well and staying very safe at home with your families. In today's video, I want us to talk about something that I've often wondered about. I've often thought about like when it rains, like where does the rain go? And today I want us to talk about something called the water cycle. Today we're gonna learn about like how clouds are formed and also like what the water cycle means and like what that means like when it rains or when it snows. Where does the rain come from and where does it go? Is it like new water that magically like appears, or is it the old water that just goes up and then comes down from the sky? So in today's video we're going to talk about all of that, and I hope you enjoyed this video. All right. So first, let's talk about what the water cycle is. So the water cycle is the path that all water follows as it moves around our planet. So it's basically the movement of water from Earth into the sky and then back down on Earth again. We're going to learn that water can exist as either solid, which is like ice, as liquid, which is just regular water, or as gas, which is water vapor. Water on the surface of the Earth is constantly changing between these three states. So between liquid, solid, and gas. Movement of water around our planet is very, very important for the lives of not only humans, but animals and plants as well, because they need water in order to survive. So the water cycle is powered by the sun, and it is happening all the time. In order to understand the water cycle a little bit better, we're going to talk about 3 vocabulary words. The first one is evaporation. The second one is condensation, and the third one is precipitation. Keep in mind that these are not the only vocabulary words for the water cycle, but in this video, we're just going to focus on the 3. Let's talk about our first vocabulary word, which is evaporation. Evaporation is a process of like water changing from liquid to a gas or vapor. So like the water from the Earth's ocean is heated up by the sun's ray. Like if you look at the first picture, it's heated up by the sun's ray, which causes it to change into a gas, and it raises up into the air. So remember, evaporation is water changes from liquid into a gas or vapor. Examples of evaporation can be, if you look at the second picture, like hot tea. I love hot tea. So you can see that the vapor is coming out of the cup and it's going up. That is evaporation, because the liquid has changed into a gas or a vapor, and it's evaporating up. It's going up into the air. And like when you think about ice cubes, like if you're melting an ice cube, that's also an example of evaporation. Like if you take an ice cube out of the refrigerator and you hold it up, you can see that vapor is coming out of it. And also like wet floors is also like evaporation. If the floor is wet, you can see that the vapor coming out of it and it goes up. Sometimes you can't really see it, but evaporation takes place in that process. Now let's talk about the other vocab word, which is condensation. Condensation is a process of a gas changing to a liquid. So condensation is the opposite of evaporation. Remember, evaporation is a liquid changing into a gas or vapor. So condensation is the gas is changing back into a liquid. And if you look at the examples that I have, it's more like a foggy mirror, or like if you're drinking soda and you can see that the water build up on the outside of it. That's condensation. If you're like me, you're probably asking, like, why is condensation important? Condensation is important because it is responsible for the formation of clouds. And remember, condensation is the opposite of evaporation. All right, now let's talk about our last vocabulary word, which is precipitation. Precipitation is one of the many ways that water is cycled back from the atmosphere to the earth or to the ocean. You can think of precipitation as like water released from clouds in the form of rain, or like freezing rain or sleet, snow, or hail. That's like an easier way to remember precipitation. Let's take a look at this picture. This will help us to be able to understand the water cycle a little bit better. As mentioned before, the water cycle does have other vocabulary words. If you can see, there's another word that says transpiration and surface runoff. I'm just going to quickly tell you what they mean. So transpiration is the process of water movement through plants. So water can move through plants as well, and it evaporates from the plant's leaves or the stems of a flower. And then we have surface runoff. Surface runoff is like water from rain or snow melt or other sources that flows over the land's surface, and it really helps the water cycle to function as a whole. So as you can see, the arrows are showing. So we have transpiration, which is water evaporating from plants, and then it goes into condensation, as you can see with the clouds, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And then it goes into precipitation, and then it snows or rains or hail or sleet. And then as you know, the water falls down, the whole process repeats itself. It's important to remember that the water cycle is a non-stop journey. It just keeps repeating over and over again. So quick fun fact about the water cycle. The water cycle is millions of years old, and water is consistently being reused, and no new water is being formed. So it's very important to remember that when it rains, it's not magic new rain that comes from the sky. It's the same water that's consistently being reused and being recycled. And water covers over 71% of the Earth's surface, which is very, very important to understand, because as we know, plants need water, animals need water, humans, we need water. You have to drink water to stay healthy. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water. So we need water every single day, and that's very important to understand, that water is everywhere, and it's very important for our survival as humans and for the survival of plants and animals. So let's take a look at this chart that says, where is Earth's water? 96.5% of Earth's water is in the ocean. That's a lot of water. And then like 1.7% is in lakes, rivers, streams, and in soils. So for the plants to use. And then 1.7% is in the polar ice cape, the glaciers, and the permanent, it's in permanent snow. Some of Earth's water is frozen in polar regions or laying in underground reservoirs, and is not part of the consistent movement of water through the water cycle. And then 0.001% is in water vapor in the Earth's atmosphere, which leads us into our next thing. We're going to talk about how clouds are formed. A cloud is made up of liquid water droplets. A cloud is formed when air is heated up by the sun, and as it rises up and it expands into the atmosphere or high up in the sky, the water vapor in the air condenses to form tiny water droplets, which are the basics of clouds. So remember, water vapor is made up of like tiny water droplets that are in the air. So I thought I'd show you what clouds look like from high up in the sky. And I found this really cool video that shows clouds, like what it looks like for clouds to be over mountains. So as you can see, the clouds are like high, like up close. You can see that it's vapor. It's like water vapor. It's tiny water droplets that condenses together. So it looks really like something that you can touch if you're standing on Earth and looking up. But when you get close to it, it's not something that you can touch. It's like water vapor and tiny water droplets. So it's not something that you can touch. I know in cartoons, sometimes you see that the cartoons are jumping on clouds. It's really not something that you can jump on. We know that precipitation forms in the clouds when water vapor condenses into bigger and bigger droplets of water. So when the drops are heavy enough, they fall to the earth. So if a cloud is colder, the water droplet may freeze to form ice. So these ice crystals then falls to the earth as snow, hail, or rain, depending on the temperature within the cloud and at the earth's surface. So to review really quickly, today we learned that the water cycle is the movement of water around our planet, and it's a non-stop journey that water goes through. And then we also learned that evaporation is the process of water changing from liquid into a gas, and then condensation is the process where a gas changes to liquid, and then precipitation is one of the many ways that water is cycled back from our atmosphere to the earth or to the ocean. And lastly, a cloud is made up of liquid water droplets. So remember, the water cycle starts when water on the surface of the earth evaporates. Then water is collected as water vapor in the sky. This makes clouds. Next, the water in the clouds gets cold. This makes it become liquid again. This process is called condensation. Then the water falls from the sky as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. This is called precipitation. Then the water sinks into the surface and also collects into lakes and ocean. Then the cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. Thank you for learning about the water cycle with me. I hope you had a lot of fun. And don't forget to watch the other videos from the other C Block teachers. Miss you all. Bye. Have a good day.